continue with a few more. We're going to take a look at some ADPs, whether or not you should be drafting them. Strap in. It's time for Fantasy Whiplash. What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Fantasy Whiplash. I am Samwise. That is my beautiful co-host, queen of all things, Queen Roxanne.
Hello. How are you?
How are you doing today, Roxanne?
It's been hot here, man.
In Denver?
Oh my God, like 100 degrees almost. It's supposed to be 100 tomorrow.
It's kind of nice here in Southern California. It's not that bad. It gets a little hot during the day, but at nighttime it still drops down to like 45, 50, which is pretty nice for sleeping weather.
Yeah, that is nice. I sleep in the basement though, so it's freezing cold. So I do appreciate that.
That's me when I'm in Cincinnati. Don't you have a draft coming up soon?
I do.
For Scott Fishbowl?
Oh yeah, the 19th.
The 19th. Oh, that's okay. So that's a week from Saturday.
Yeah.
I am drafting in Los Angeles this coming Saturday, and starting to get a little excited about it. I just kind of wanted. I'm tired of seeing all the mock drafts. They don't do anything for me, and
Same.
I'm ready to keep moving.
I like seeing people's rosters and how very different they are for the Scott Fishbowl.
Yeah, well, and this year there's so many different builds you can do and still remain competitive.
Right.
It's not like anybody's finding any big secrets, and people keep looking at the ADP lists, and I'm like, that ADP
doesn't apply.
List does nothing for you in this tournament.
Right.
Because people are getting their guys and so on and so forth. Anyway, welcome to the show. Welcome to those of you in the chat. It's good to see you guys. Mel, Jamie, Kim. We've got the whole 9 yards in the building. She keeps getting sniped in her SFP draft. That's funny. I keep getting sniped by Angie in one of our charity drafts. So we have that in common. I want to remind everybody, please do like this video. You can do that even if you're in the chat. You can shut that window, give it a like for me. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And after the show is over, please comment below. Maybe tell us who you're going after in Scott Fishbowl, and then we'll just hope that none of your league mates are looking at it.
Right. Jamie put who he got at the 107, but my comments are there.
Right. And also, our Twitter handles are in the description as well. So you can find me at Buy and Sell You. You can find Roxy at F Queen Roxanne, both in the Twitterverse, and we love to talk. So
always. At 107, he got Barkley. That's pretty good for Barkley to drop to the 7th spot. That is pretty good. Yeah.
Also, if you are so inclined and you don't have your computer in front of you, you can always listen to us on your whatever you get your podcasts on, whether it's Apple Music, Amazon, et cetera, Spotify, et cetera. Just go in there and search for Fantasy Whiplash, and our stuff will come up. and then you can, listen to us while you're doing laundry or something. So anyway, it's been a slow news week, Roxy.
I know.
But I picked out a couple things that I thought maybe we could bring up. Obviously, we covered all the tight end news last week with Jonnu Smith and Darren Waller, who knew, and so on and so forth. But I want to talk about this is really a lot to do about nothing, but Dak Prescott has once again said that he's going to be ready for training camp after his hamstring surgery. He only played in 8 games last year, had 11 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So not sure if that hammy was already bothering him at that point, but right now his ADP is in the 10th round, and I think that's pretty good value if you're doing a redraft and you don't get one of the top quarterbacks. So what do you think, Roxy? Do you think with his new weapon and in George Pickens and with obviously CD's still there, you think he's going to be worth drafting in the 10th?
Definitely. I take
Maybe
him
even sooner, I think.
Yep. It could be like that secret that nobody wants to touch him because, of course, he got hurt, and I 100% get that. But if he stays healthy, he could be a big, big factor in your fantasy football team.
Yeah, I had him 2 years ago when he led the league in completions. He had 38 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, and that was a huge boon for my fantasy teams. I had drafted him and someone else just so I could, play the percentages.
Right.
And I ended up starting Dak all year.
Yep. He's good for fantasy.
Yeah, he is.
He can stay healthy. I think he can. He seems to be like a hard worker that tries to keep, once he got probably the clear to start working out and stuff, you can tell he's been hitting it hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a feeling, I don't call it a hunch, I have a feeling we're going to talk about one of his new weapons later on in this show. So we'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Here's another fun one because Pittsburgh always seems to be in the news. Terry Bradshaw. Are you a fan of Terry Bradshaw?
Yeah, I like Terry Bradshaw. You're freezing up.
He's good for a giggle every now and again, although I don't really get into his analysis very much. But Bradshaw came out and blamed the Steelers for Kenny Pickett's lack of development. They said they never surrounded him with anything, and it's basically their fault that he kind of flunked. I mean, for his career, was it 3 years, his young career, 4,700 yards, 15 TDs, 14 INTs.
Did they blame him for his tiny hands too?
For his tiny hands. And we just talked about Dak, and Dak can, I think, hold Pickett's tiny hands. So I guess my question is, the Cleveland quarterbacks are really unimpressive. Even Flacco didn't look very good in Indianapolis last year. The rookies are rookies for a reason, and even Shedeur is probably not going to be ready to play, after being a 5th round pick. So can Kenny Pickett win that job?
Yeah, I think he can, actually. And that's not saying he's a good quarterback. That's just saying their other options are worse.
Yeah, they're garbage.
They are. All three of them are.
Yeah, they really are. And I in that charity tournament I was just talking about, I'm looking at we're in like the last 3 rounds, and I've got a couple players queued up, and all of the Cleveland quarterbacks are still available.
Nobody's touching them. I think we talked about this last week.
It's like a 25-round draft with 12 teams, and all of the Cleveland quarterbacks. I think nobody wants to take a chance on them getting benched or whatever. So if you didn't draft all 4 of them, you're screwed.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I think Pickett could win the job just, by not doing the worst in training camp.
Exactly.
So if he just plays game manager and doesn't try heaving the ball down the field, might be all right.
Right. Although Joe Flacco will give him a run for his money. Not that Joe Flacco's any good. Yes, he's old, all that. But as a game manager, I would imagine Flacco's better than Pickett.
Yeah, I agree completely. And obviously Cleveland fans still have it. The last time Flacco was there in their head and, kind of did a little magic. So here's another one. Kirk Cousins is big mad at the Falcons.
Still.
He was on the Netflix series The Quarterback, which came back I guess last week. And he was really angry that he didn't seem angry when he was talking about it, but he seemed perturbed.
You could tell
really
by
angry
the way
the Falcons
he worded it.
Penix.
Right.
He contends that not only did they mislead him when they were trying to sign him, but that he never would have signed there if he knew they were thinking about taking a quarterback. And I gotta say, obviously he was coming back from injury last year. So, maybe he still would have kind of pulled an Amber Heard when the like he did on the Falcons. But at the same time, there are other teams that could have, used his services. I mean, he could have stayed in Minnesota and they didn't sign Sam Darnold. The Browns, who we just talked about, Colts, Jets, Steelers even. I mean, so I can see why he's probably kind of like, well, I missed out on an opportunity to fulfill 4 years of a contract somewhere instead of just treading water now.
I think, again, he was coming off an injury. Penix was there. I think the Falcons panicked, didn't know what they were going to do, and that was the route they went, and it didn't sit well with him, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, they must have had Penix just ranked pretty high overall on their big board for them to want to take him in the top 10. But I think he has a right to be pissed. Do you?
On one hand, yes. I get where he's coming from. Like, if he'd have known they were targeting a quarterback so early, he could have signed somewhere else. But on the other hand, like, dude, shut up and take your $300 million plus and
see. Yeah, he's got 300 million reasons not to worry about this.
Right. Heal up, like you got a whole extra year to heal almost. You know what I mean? Like, and when somebody goes down this year, you might be going there.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
not saying I wish for
he
injury.
might end up still collecting money from Atlanta and signing a new contract somewhere else. Pull up Matt Flynn from the Packers years ago, where he was making money from like 3 different teams at once.
Yep.
But okay, we're going to talk a lot about ADPs and draft day prep in the coming weeks. And all of this information that we use or we quote is found on Player Profiler, as well as in the world famous, that's right, world famous draft kit, which just came out. It is amazing. Everybody put a ton of work into it. There's player bios, team breakdowns, ADPs, and a bunch of special guests. Bob Harris, Jeff Bell, just to name a few, from other publications as well that loaned their talents and did some videos for us and things like that. So, but enough from me. Let's hear the Podfather tell you about it.
The world famous Draft Kit is live, and it is this signature bit of content that we create every year to help you dominate your fantasy league. The most in-depth team previews you'll find anywhere, including signature trends and a lot of key stats on individual teams. Also, a 300-player cheat sheet for best ball, for seasonal leagues, individual cheat sheets from the top analysts here at Player Profiler. There's also video analysis and written analysis from some of the top minds in the industry. And we have all these new features like a Rate My Team feature, plug in your roster, and our AI tools automatically generate a draft score, as well as a whole commissioner guide. You have to subscribe to it to believe it. PlayerProfiler.com/draftkit, PlayerProfiler.com/draftkit. Get it now. Go win.
So there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. The draft kick is awesome, and just when you think it's like done, there's like pages and pages and pages of stuff to go through. Anything you could want is there. So you can access it at playerprofiler.com/draftkit. As he said, it is also part of the all-in package, which includes, dynasty analysis if you play both, all the player rankings you need, all the updated ADPs you need. And if you want to get on and do the all-in package, you can get a discount. What, Roxanne?
Do it now.
A discount. It's promo code WHIP, and you can tell them that Roxanne and Samwise sent you. So enough about that. Let's get to the main event here. We're on to this is basically the second week of us doing some old faces in new places, and whether or not we're interested in taking them at their ADPs. And actually, I left one thing out of the news earlier. I might go back to it if we have time at the end. But what do you say, Roxanne? You want to start us off?
We're going to go with Cooper Kupp from the Rams to Seattle. His ADP is 94.6, and I think that's too high.
Oh, really?
I do. I ain't touching him.
Where do you think you would take him?
Way later.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm not touching Cooper Kupp. He hasn't played a full season since 2021.
I'm not a big fan of the Seattle offense right now either.
I saw what Darnold did with Jefferson last year. That doesn't turn me off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like that. He's a good quarterback for fantasy, for your wide receivers, all that. But Cooper Kupp, he's been too hurt, and it's just, I fear, going to continue. He only played 9 games last year. 9 games, I mean.
Yeah.
And the years before that, only 12. The 2 years before that.
He might be a season-ending injury away from it being a career-ending injury. Like he just says, I'm not coming back.
I'm not, like I said, I'll take him later if he's there. I think him getting drafted at 94.6 is just too high for the risk.
Yeah, I mean, I could see people taking him around there, maybe even a little bit earlier, just because, Metcalf is gone and Lockett's gone. So it's like, who you got? You got JSN, you got Cooper Kupp, you got a couple rookies, and they signed another free agent too. I don't remember who it was, but So, I mean, maybe they're like, well, by default, he's going to, do X amount. But I agree with you. I think the injury risk might just be too much.
Yeah. I think JSN I think his ADP's 32 something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably good. That's a good spot to take him with Darnold.
Yeah.
He doubled his yards from the first year to the
unless he
second
gets
year.
a lot of double coverage.
Yeah.
All right.
Who's their third wide receiver? Do you know?
What's that?
Who's their third wide receiver?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember. They drafted a couple rookies, and I want to say they signed somebody else, but whoever it is must be not exactly thrilling if I can't remember.
Right.
So,
I don't know if I looked at their depth chart or not.
At the risk of exposing myself, which I don't do in public.
Good. You'll get arrested.
At least I don't make it a habit. All right. Should we move on?
Yes.
All right. I got one for you. And I can't believe I'm even that I found this many notes. It's Danny Dimes from the Indianapolis Colts, formerly of Giants fame. He's a game manager. He's got some rushing floor. The one thing I can say he's got going for him is he developed a connection real fast with neighbors in the slot. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people are getting excited about Josh Downs this year. I think people are looking at that as, well, maybe he's just going to pepper Downs and their new tight end, Tyler Warren. Maybe he's going to pepper them with targets. And if he does that, he could be successful. But, his ADP is way down there.
Who you put on the email?
What?
You know who you put on the email? I'm like, what the hell am I looking at?
I sent Roxy the show sheet and wrote Eli Manning.
I'm like, what? I don't see Daniel Jones on here.
Yeah, no, Danny Dimes is on there. He's masquerading as Eli Manning. Clearly. His ADP is 201.5. That means he's being drafted at quarterback 29. None of that is very inspiring. He will probably go undrafted in most redraft leagues, which I think is appropriate. Considering his rookie year in 2019 was his best season, and that was 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. As recently as 2022, he did have 708 yards rushing and 7 TDs. So he's got a little bit of escapability. But, right now he just kind of looks like it's almost like what Anthony Richardson is aspiring to.
Right.
Just being mediocre,
right.
And possibly having some room to run. But the Colts have a middling schedule. They get to play a couple crummy teams, but overall they actually got the short end of the stick outside of their division, and they're playing like the Chiefs and the Bills and a bunch of other teams. So
they'll be playing from behind a lot, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, but and that's not necessarily good, because that's usually a recipe for Danny to throw picks.
Yeah, numerous.
You know what I mean? It's the age-old joke of, how many passes will he complete to his guys versus how many he'll complete to the other team.
He was fun to bet on for interceptions 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be okay for fantasy if he does do the game manager thing and is peppering the short tosses. The problem is if they're not winning and he's just okay, then he's going to lose his job.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So
again,
exactly. So where's Kirk Cousins when you need him?
Right. Ooh, that would be fun though.
Right, wouldn't it?
Yes. Actually.
Although that's what we thought about Joe Flacco too, and that didn't work out so well. But all right, let's do Roxy number 2. Who we got?
We got Nick Chubb at, I know I wrote it, 182.7.
Boo.
I think he's past his prime. I think he's not going to be to the Texans. Good? But I don't think the Texans have any good running backs either. Joe Mixon's their other running back. They're both 29. They're both injury riddled. Like, are they going to just split the reps, to keep them both kind of healthy and nobody gets seriously hurt?
Yeah, I mean, Mixon's got a hip and a quad that bother him every year. Every single year, they force him out.
Right.
For about
and
2
ankle.
games.
He had ankle issues last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's no spring chicken. So,
neither one are.
I don't know. It kind of makes me look at Woody Marks, the rookie that they drafted.
Right.
I don't know that he could carry the load for a team. But he'd be at least a nice enough change of pace back to spell somebody. But if they try to put Nick Chubb in there as the bell cow, it's not going to end well.
I don't think so either. I just think 2 years ago, what was it? MCL, ACL tear. And then last year he broke his foot. There's just too much going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And then every year they show him lifting weights. That does anything for me. It does nothing for me. I'm
They're not lifting weights on the field.
So what you're saying is his upper body is not injured.
Right. Or his thighs are good. That has nothing to do again with running. They have to run.
And cutting.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think 182, that's pretty fair if you want to touch him. Wait.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I do.
Jamie brings back up Danny Dimes, and I'm gonna excuse you, Jamie, for even referencing Wandale. But yeah, he did throw a ton to Wandale in the slot, and Neighbors played the slot often too. Occasionally they did the dueling slot thing. Wandale Robinson, I'm never drafting him again, that's for sure. Because he had 170 targets and had 300 yards, which is really, really hard to do. These guys are still talking about Colts. We like Pittman. I am not a big Pittman fan, but now I'm even more worried that somebody else is going to throw interceptions in front of him.
Right.
But who's not going to get interceptions thrown in front of him is my second guy.
I got to read it again. Are you messing with me again? Okay.
It is one Davante Adams.
Yes.
Of the LA Rams. His ADP right now is 29.9. That's good for wide receiver 17. And I think that's a little low. Even though he's 32 years old, he didn't just sign a 2-year, $44 million contract for nothing. Last year with Aaron Rodgers, he had 67 catches. He had 15 before he got moved over there. And for 5 of 6 years prior to that, he had over 100 and over 1,000 yards. And I think he's still got gas in the tank. I mean, if there's anybody that I've believed is just continuing to excel after the age of 30, it's Davante Adams. So
I'm taking him with Stafford all day.
Yeah. And the thing with Stafford too is, he's got 44 touchdowns in the last 2 years, but he's only a couple years removed from a 41 touchdown season. So he's got it. You know what I mean? And you can't count on Kyron Williams to rush for another 68 touchdowns or whatever it was.
68.
But so and Adams has never been the fastest guy, but he's got some burst. He's got a catch radius of he catches anything within 5 feet of him.
He's got some hands.
He's got some hands, and he reads the ball well, and he knows how to play off the defender and get himself open for the quarterback. And I think he excels, especially with a veteran QB like Stafford, as opposed to trying to mix him in with like a rookie. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I'm all in on Davante. I'm targeting him in a lot of drafts. I'm not reaching for him too early, but if he's within probably 4 or 5 on my rankings, when my turn comes around, I would probably skip 2 or 3 guys just to get to him instead.
So you think Nakua is going to get double teamed a lot, and Adams is going to get
what's that?
Puka Nakua? Isn't that the wide receiver run? So you think he's going to get double teamed a lot?
You know what? I don't know, but I mean, Nakua only played 11 games last season, and even the year before that, he played a full season, but he spent a lot of time in the blue tent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Adams could outperform Nakua. I really do. I don't think necessarily he will, because they're already built to feature Puka. But I think he could outperform him, and I think if Nakua misses time, Adams is really going to blow up.
Yeah, I'll let somebody take Nakua, and I'd rather take Adams later.
Yeah. I think Nakua is going too early anyway.
I do too.
I mean, I like him a lot. You can't deny his numbers or anything, but taking him, top 10 is
11 games. I didn't realize that's how little games he played last year.
Yeah, he only played 11. So, okay, who you got, Roxy? Number 3.
Number 3, we got George Pickens from Pittsburgh to Dallas.
What? I told you we were going to talk about Dallas weaponry.
ADP of 50.3. I think that's a good spot to take him.
Really?
I do. I think him and Dak could do some work together downfield.
Oh man.
And if you miss out on CD, then you're definitely going to get Pickens.
Yeah, I struggle with this because I don't like George Pickens. And Part of the reason I didn't like him is because everybody was trying to make him an alpha receiver every year. Like he was the one that was going to get it all. Well, he doesn't have to be the alpha in Dallas.
Right.
To be better than like Brandon Cooks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah.
Or Turpin if he sees the field.
Yeah. He just got arrested. He's a bad boy.
Yeah, I guess. So what, that's about the fourth, about halfway through the fourth round?
Yeah.
Would you say 58? Yeah, halfway.
50.3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would take him. Like I said, if CD's getting double coverage, Pickens is a really good option for Dak, especially downfield.
Yeah, and he's a burner, so he still can, can cut the roof off the place, you know what I mean, and stretch the field.
And I think he's still pissed about last year about that whole quarterback situation, and like he was doing pretty decent with Russell Wilson. Like he was having like 20 more yards a game with Wilson over Fields, and he didn't have any touchdowns with Fields. He only had 3 touchdowns last year though, but only played 6 games with Wilson.
He only had what?
3 touchdowns last year.
Oh, 3. I thought you said 30. No. I was like, no, he didn't.
No. He's only ever had 5 in a season, though. That's his most he's ever had.
Yeah. I think the year before, all 5 of them came against the Bengals.
I think that he's kind of got maybe a little chip on his shoulder and wants to go prove himself over there. And like you said, he doesn't have to be the number 1, but can be a great number 2.
Yeah. I agree with that. I still feel like in the 4th round might be a little too early. I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of guys that I've taken in the 4th round and that I feel a little more strongly about. But if he were to fall, for me personally, if he were to fall to like the late 5th, I'd probably snatch him up. And as always, best ball formats, absolutely. He's 100% a best ball guy because
also
when he booms, he really booms.
Right. And with Schottenheimer as the OC, they were 3rd and 8th in pass attempts the last 2 years. So they're throwing the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's even with Dak only playing 10 games.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's probably why it dropped from 3rd to 8th last year.
Right. So are you targeting Pickens or just you would take him if he was there?
I'm not targeting him. I would take him if he was there for sure. Yeah. Especially best ball, like you said. I think best ball could be
best ball is a must-have. Like I would bump him up the ranks in best ball because he's not going to be in your lineup every week. But when he does make it into your lineup, it's going to be because he just put 35 points on the board.
Right.
So
my neighbors have decided to play hockey outside at the moment, if you can hear that banging.
Say what?
My neighbors decided it's time to play hockey outside right next door, and so it keeps banging. Like pucks keep coming across. They like to shoot them over the fence, and they hit my house and shit.
I thought you said they decided to make coffee outside, and I was like, that's not that noisy, really.
Play hockey.
Like a high octane espresso machine.
Extra ice.
Like they made coffee outside. I'll be back.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, that's about all the Pickens talk I can take for today. I'm gonna throw a weird one out here.
Yeah, this is weird.
It's a really weird one. This is like a combination team change / sleeper. But I really, really like him. And it is Dyami Brown, formerly of the Commanders. He is now the slot man in Jacksonville and that passing offense that will feature Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. Now, you might say, they're just going to throw the ball to those two guys. So what's Dyami going to do? Well, Trevor Lawrence has always been a fan of having a security blanket. You saw it, with his tight ends quite a bit, and still might be this year, with the emergence of Brenton Strange. But he likes the slot receivers too. And Dyami Brown never really got a fair shake in Washington. He played 4 seasons there, but he only started 9 games. So it's not like he got much of a chance. Scored 9 games and I think 2 touchdowns. But I'm telling you, if you're anything like me, and at the end of every draft, you always take one really deep sleeper. I always do, no matter who's on the board. And Dyami Brown is mine. His ADP
200 something.
Hold on tight. His ADP is 185.6. That means he's going at pick 1606. So literally you're going to have to reach out of your redraft roster to get him, or you're in a league with a little bit deeper benches. But I'm telling you, I'm here to say I'm going on record, man. I said Jordan Mason last week that he would be the starter at the end of the season for Minnesota. And this week, I'm telling you, Dyami Brown's going to have at least 25 catches.
No. I'm not touching him.
You're not touching him.
Nah. I mean, I guess I can see your theory of take a sleeper at the end of a draft, sure.
Right.
And that would be fun, but no.
Well, the other thing that makes me wonder is, there was a quote from Travis Kelce the other day when they asked him how teams will prepare for Travis Hunter. And he said, well, I think, one way or the other, I think when he's on defense, they're going to target him over and over and over again so that he's just wiped out by the time it's time to go on offense. And that made a little bit of sense to me. Travis Kelce's no analyst, but that made a little sense to me just in that if Hunter's playing both ways, and he is wearing himself out. I mean, he's only human. He's not Superman. Then they're gonna be counting on somebody else to catch the ball, and it's not going to be Parker Washington. So I think that's another reason Dyami Brown could make some noise underneath while BTJ is going down the field.
I think that after about 3 weeks, you're not going to see Travis Hunter much on defense at all.
Think so?
Yeah.
Why do you think not on defense and instead of not on offense?
Because I think for my own hope of taking him as an offensive weapon, that they see they don't need him. First of all, they don't need him on defense. They don't need him on both. That's for sure. So you got to pick a side. You don't pay a defensive player the way they paid him, first of all. And second of all, who else are they going to throw to besides Brian Thomas? Not Dyami.
You don't know that for sure.
And they're not practicing him on defense that much. He is mostly practicing on offense.
Yeah. Do you think he'll raise a fuss if they take him off of defense?
Not if he's smart.
But, I mean, as long as he's getting the volume.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's cocky like that. I don't think he's like Shador. He's like totally the polar opposite, in fact, of Shador. And I think he would be completely fine with however they're going to use him. And he already knows they're going to use him more on offense. Again, what was it, 2 weeks ago when we talked about this? They had 7 practices. He practiced 5 on offense, 1 on defense, and 1 on both. So that tells you right there where they plan to have him. If they want him on defense, he'd be practicing a lot more on defense and a lot less on offense.
Yeah.
Or on both.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just what I'm going off of.
We've got a couple comments here. Mel got Davante in round 4. Not only would I be surprised, I'd be ecstatic by that.
Right.
I think that's a blessing, because you could have taken Pickens. Right, Roxanne?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you rather?
I'd much rather have Adams over Pickens. Yes, of course.
Right. And then Hottie Toddy's all over the place. Hottie Toddy is all over this chat.
I love her. I love her so much.
Puka throws his body around so much, so he does get injured.
Yep.
That's true. He does play with reckless abandon, which you love to watch until it starts hurting you. And you see that in all sports, really.
Right.
And then one more from Kim. Look at Dallas's running backs. They definitely have to be pass heavy. That's true. They do. They do. I don't know who's going to win that job, but we might talk about one of them next week.
I want to go through their depth chart really quick.
Well, their running backs it's like a makeshift ragtag bunch.
Williams, right? Williams is there.
Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, rookie Jaden Blue.
Yeah, they're going to sling that ball around.
I can't remember if they cut the coffee table or not. What's his name? Little tiny guy.
Like a rookie?
No. He's been there a couple years.
Deuce Vaughn.
Huh?
Deuce Vaughn.
No.
They just hit my house.
Way to go, hockey players. All right. Well, we're coming up against it now. So what else you got, Roxy? Anything?
No, did you want to discuss your last news story?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Let me go back to that. Since these guys didn't change teams, but as long as we're talking about ADPs, Tyreek Hill.
I think it sucks for us fantasy players that the team he's on. He could be on such a better team for us fantasy players.
Tyreek Hill, his ADP was 27th at the end of June. And here it is a week later, and he's risen up to 23rd, which is the end of the second round. He's being drafted as the wide receiver 13. Is that too soon given how he's played lately?
He's still an amazing player. I think his quarterback situation sucks.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you're like, do I take the chance that he still sucks when I know that if it works out in my favor, it's going to be gigantic. Right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'll compare that to Christian McCaffrey, who's risen over 5 spots in the offseason. He's now running back 4 in half-point PPR. He's going at pick 108 on average. I've seen him between 108 and like 202.
Not touching him.
He's risen almost an entire round.
Right.
This offseason.
I think people need to go to their dictionaries and look up what degenerative means.
What? Yeah, I know. Here's the thing. That's what I've been saying. I'm like, degenerative means it's going to get worse.
Right. It does not get better.
I feel great right now. Wait till he gets out there for a couple games.
Right. And I do not wish injuries on people, but I ain't touching him.
But as soon as I say that, I'm one of the ones that's looking at him and going, well, if it works, like, I'll win the league. You know what I mean? He could be a league winner if you
Of course
get
he can.
Huh?
Of course he can, but I'm not taking the risk. That's another risky one.
It is.
Especially that high. I'd rather have Bucky Irving or somebody over him.
First round's a no-go. I think if he made it into the second, depending on where I was picking, I would start really thinking about it.
Right. I don't know. I'd have to have another really good running back first to think about it.
Yeah.
I would want him to be my number one running back.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are probably feeling that. So I think that ADP is going to settle at the beginning of the second round.
Right.
I think a lot of people are like, my first pick is not going to be Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
But my second pick could be.
Right. I agree with that. I have no problem with that. But again, I took him a lot last year, and I took him with a lot of one picks, and I'm not going to get hurt again this year. I'm not doing it. Nope. I'm taking somebody younger.
But would you take Tyreek Hill where he's being drafted?
Yeah, because he's so good. Not because of his quarterback, though. But yes, I would.
He doesn't have a degenerative leg condition.
Right. I like Tyreek Hill. As a football player, of course, as a person, he's shitty, but he's a great football player still.
Okay, we're up against it. Hottie Toddy says she loves you too, Roxanne. I love you too, Hottie Toddy. And I love everybody that showed up to this chat. I want to remind you guys all, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video and comment on it after we're gone. All of that stuff help us get seen by the algorithm and make our rounds, trying to attract some eyeballs. And then during the regular season, which we're counting down, what do we got? 9 Sundays left?
Yes.
Man, in a regular season, this show is going to be off the chisel.
I can't wait.
I mean,
I was thinking about it today.
All you old folks. Okay. Say goodnight, Roxy.
Good night, Tom. I hope you sleep well.
All right. Good night, Amber. Just don't make a mess. Bye, everybody.
I love it so much.
I did it. I said good night.
Good night.